Welcome to Beginner Landscape Painting Video 5. In this video, I'm going to show you how I finish up this painting using a different brush, the Sargent Brush. The Sargent Brush, again, can be found here in the Artist Favorites category. You go over here to the variant Sargent Brush. And again, I've got my little scratch pad open, which is just another document that I've created using the same paper that we have been using here for our final painting. The Sargent Brush straight out of the box is wonderful in itself, and I'm going to show you how we're going to tweak this brush as I proceed with the painting. I will be eliminating some of the very thin paint here where you can see the canvas showing through and adding thicker paint strokes. I would also like to point out that this little scratch pad here actually is 9.9 inches by 7 inches, the exact same size as my painting, so that when I put a brush stroke down, I know really basically how big it's going to be on my final image. I also want to rearrange my board so that it's going to be more comfortable for me to work. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to tuck this scratch pad away to the right here, and I've got my reference photo right here. You can enlarge this. Remember, any document that you tap on will be the document that you're currently working on. So look at your layers palette. If I tap on this, it's actually the layers palette for this image. If I tap on the final painting, I've got all the layers that I was working on previously. What I also want to show you is that up till now we've been working with the chunky oil pastel, which happily works on new layers. But if I add a new layer now and using my Sargent brush try to paint, nothing happens. That's because the Sargent brush actually needs something on the layer to paint on top of. A blank layer is just that, it's blank. So there is a way around this. What we can do is collapse our layers, go to layer commands, collapse them, and then we can actually collapse it to the canvas, drop, and this, now we have our painting on one layer. We can then pick Command or Control A and select all of our painting, go to your layer adjuster tool, and while holding down the Alter Option key, so you have to hold that down, press in the center with your pen, and it perfectly replicates the canvas. Now we've actually got a layer on which we can work. Personally, I often work just on my canvas the way I would do in traditional painting, and I don't use layers. But one of the advantages of digital painting is that we can use layers and trash them if we don't like what's happened there, or we can lower the opacity. So we are going to be working on this layer here with our Sargent brush. At this point, I've begun to work all over the painting with different pieces of foliage, and I just want to show you that you can, with the size of your brush, you can make very general pieces. I'm working over here in this area now of foliage, very general areas, okay? Or you can reduce that brush and actually indicate more detail. Like over here where there's a nice contrast here. Okay. You can sample by pressing down the Alter Option key, sample any color and add it. Okay. And I'm just working from my reference photo. Now, may I add that drawing is pretty important, because the ability to draw will determine whether your paintings are going to be successful or not. Bad drawing is like a car crash. It will lead the viewer's eye to areas that are not drawn well, and as a result, take them away from your focal point or what you want to say in the painting. And that doesn't mean you can't give suggestions, but they have to be fairly accurate suggestions, I like to call them, so that the brain can fill in. But when we have something that's really, really badly executed, that becomes an eyesore, and your brain will pick up on that, and it will lead us away from our focal point or the statement that we want to make with our painting. Here is the finished painting, and as you can see, I've added a lot to this painting. I've worked mainly in the Sargent brush, which again you can find under Artist Favorites, and it is my favorite brush. It has a very luscious oil look to it. I have maintained my focal point, which was my original intention, where I have the most amount of detail and the greatest contrast between dark and light values. Thank you for joining me for this beginner landscape painting series.